Serious, women who gave the creep a chance, how did it go?
I walked in on him peeing in my washing machine after letting him in my home for some reason.
He slit his wrists and showed me on FaceTime the blood dripping out while he was crying. Just because I broke up with him.
He stalked me for almost 8 months, and I still do not want to know how he got my address. I was 19, he was 31. And #X200B, God, I was so naive.
Guy had serious untreated mental health problems, which resulted in him spending 4 years stalking me and making me resent giving that one chance. I made multiple calls to police and paramedics because he would call me up threatening suicide unless I would help him. He still finds me on social medias and random gaming apps to say hi, I miss you, but I now live more than 1,000 kilometers away.
Did one video chat with him during which he asked if he could video call me again later in the day. When I told him no, I'll be busy, I started getting random text messages throughout my day that said, are you okay? Just let me know you're okay. The first I responded to, I said, hey, yeah, I'm fine. I just hung up with you 30 minutes ago, bud. He took that as a sign that I wanted to talk more, so he attempted another video call. When I didn't respond, he started again with the texts. Didn't even bother responding to the rest. Up to 20 unread messages later, before I was able to block him while leaving him on read.
He got very obsessed with me. I had to be straight up rude to get him to leave me alone because he wouldn't understand when I asked nicely. He later self-harmed on his own wrists and went around telling people to ask me why he did that. It might be relevant, but I was 17 and he was 26.
Knew he was weird before the first date. I was sad and thought maybe he'd be different in person. Showed up to the date and he walked with a crazy limp, told me he was into pee stuff, wouldn't pay for dinner, tried to kiss me 3 times. When I got home that night, he sent me a full body nude completely out of the blue. I never saw him again. He texted me 3 months later to tell me I was the worst human and most selfish person he's ever met. And then he blocked me. Woozy face.
Reading this I realized I actually have something to contribute, lol. I gave him a chance in high school. I was 15, he was 18. Ended with him sticking his tongue down my throat several times, quite aggressively, joking about stabbing me as he lunged a knife at me and laughed about it while carving pumpkins, and threatened to shoot up the school with a list of names, my friend and I's being top of the list. He got suspended and no one ever saw him again. Update, my friends and I found out he's now in the military.
He sexually assaulted me and got mad when I told him I just wanted to be friends. The friends part was to get him to leave my house.
He stalked me. He made videos of himself crying because I broke his heart after him knowing me for a month. He told everyone I was just a fat whore who used men. I didn't take anything from him or have sex with him. I gave him a whole month and every time I would hang out he would keep me up until 3 a.m. crying that I didn't love him. It was bad.
He threatened suicide when I tried to break up with him and he eventually started stalking me when I did end things. Don't date a creep.
He was older than me, wouldn't respect boundaries, pressured me to do things, texted hundreds of times a day, then the next day completely iced me out. Phoned 10 to 14 times one afternoon, I tried the same thing back to him, he screamed at me to never call him again. Later threatened self-harm if I didn't talk to him. Harassed me at work. Turns out he was married the whole time, but they were separated? Wanted me to go in the woods with him one day. I walked/ran away as fast as I could.
He stabbed my end table with a knife after getting upset with me. Then started stalking me. I moved and invested in cameras for my house and a dash cam. 1 million emails, police reports, etc. Oh, and his twin brother raped and stalked girls a few years prior. Ended up killing 2 police officers. Seems like creep runs in the family. Edit, the twin brother murdered. Not my ex. Maybe would have been killed myself if I stuck around long enough. Also, my ex didn't start off as this psychopath and I just so happened to like his crazy. He seemed like a misunderstood man, and his true self started showing after a few months into our relationship. Slowly at first, and then very quickly turned bad.
On our first date, he told me he loved me and that he would let me pick out the color of our house. The rest of the evening was super awkward. I never talked to him again.
I bought him a coffee one time and we chatted about our music tastes. 3 days later, I was sitting in my dorm and I got a text from him that was just a selfie. I sent one back and the conversation got really boring, so I sent him a snap of a black screen. He responded, "Are you in a dark place?" And I said, "Yeah, lol." His response was, "Well, you'll have to leave soon because you have class in, insert building with insert professor, at 6 o'clock. I literally never told him anything about my classes, so he just fucking stalked me until he learned my entire schedule. It turns out he was a serial creep preying on freshman girls.
He tried to kidnap my sister in an attempt to get me to get back together with him. I knew it was a mistake from the moment I said yes. And it was just downhill from there.
He tried to rape me in his apartment. I broke away and drove through my tears.
Badly. He became very stalkerish, was very insecure about other men, and tried to isolate me from friends.
He tried nagging me all night, and when he asked me how many siblings I have, I told him and included the info that one passed away a few years prior. He asked me if I had killed my sibling. If they give you the creeps, they're not worth a chance. Sorry, not sorry.
We were hanging at the bar with mutual friends and he invited me back to his place for an after party. Turned out the after party was a lie. He raped me. So yeah, never again.
After a few dates he started to get way too serious. I told him calmly and honestly that I wasn't ready for a serious relationship and he deserved to be with someone who was. He completely flipped shit, and after a bit of name-calling I stood up and started to leave the bar. He then said, "You should watch yourself in the future. Especially when getting into your car." I was extremely paranoid for months after. Would check my back seat and under my vehicle. Never saw him again, so just an empty threat, but not a fun time. That was like 15 years ago. Yeah, he's still single.
At the end of a weird and terrible date, he asked me for a hug as I was turning to leave. I thought, whatever gets this over with. As I was pulling away, he forcibly grabbed the back of my head and shoved his tongue in my mouth before I was able to break free. The next morning I had a 3-page email in my inbox telling me all the things that are wrong with me and why he is not interested in a second date.
On our first date, I ordered a beer. It came to the table super frothy. I was distracted for a moment, but when I looked at it again, there were very clear drip marks in the foam like something had been dropped in it. I made up some excuse about not feeling well and got out of there. Oops. Can't leave. My dumbass drove and my car was valeted. I, very uncomfortably, got the car from valet and we both got in. He asked me to stop at a gas station so he could buy smokes on the way. Thank God, because I knew going to his house was not a good idea. As soon as he got out at the station, I peeled out and left him there. I never should have let him in my car, but I panicked. I didn't know what he was capable of. This was 15 plus years ago. I'm now happily married to the best thing that ever happened to me.
After years of telling the saga of a series of bad dates titled Head in the Freezer Dude, one of my friends asked me what he looked like. I googled him, only to find a mugshot after he was arrested and convicted for murder. Years after our last contact, he had found a roommate on Craigslist, had sex with him, bit the end of his finger off, killed him, then tried to burn the place down by turning on the gas stove then starting the toaster with a newspaper in it, which didn't end up igniting. This was all on the same day he met the guy. And that, my friends, is how I dated a Craigslist killer. Edit, as requested, the story.
Used to work in a small store, and this creepy dude would try to flirt with me. I guess it was flirting, like once or twice a week. He seemed like someone who didn't have any friends and never socialized, but one day he asked for my number and it wasn't aggressive, but pretty straightforward, so I was like, sure, I guess. thought he was weird, but he knew where I worked, so I couldn't really reject him, cause there was no way of knowing how he would react, so I had to keep talking to him from time to make sure he didn't flip shit on me since I worked at night. After like a few weeks of occasional short text combos, like maybe 2 or 3 few-word texts, he asked how old I was, and he finally stopped talking to me because he was disgusted that I was 24 years old. He thought I was only 16. He was 28. He was a pedophile.
It's been over a decade now and he's still harassing me on every online platform he can find me on.
He sends me incel memes about being rejected.
Luckily we are not in the same city anymore, that I know of.
When I started dating him, I didn't know he was a creep, but a week into dating he told me he was part of a local gang that is known for lots of murders. I was scared to leave, because he went to the same school as my brother and I didn't trust him to not hurt my brother. He kept trying to convince me to have sex, then on the night of my 18th birthday he drugged my Chick-fil-A drink. I don't remember leaving the drive-thru.
I have a restraining order against him, and he has on an ankle monitor, and is facing 4 felony charges and a misdemeanor.
He put me in the hospital.
He started as the creep.
I gave him a chance.
That chance lasted a year and a half, and ended with multiple injuries, including broken, damaged retina, and a concussion. Edit, did not mean broken.
Broken ribs asterisk.
Hoo boy. My first ever date from an app, he had me take transit an hour and a half to a mall. He worked it cause he had to drop something off. We got food, and he insisted I take home a piece of pie despite not wanting it, ate my leftovers despite actually wanting it, took me to his house and forced me to meet his mother, had no idea he lived with her, cried on me, and told me that he had a 9-inch dick. One date, never messaged him again. A month later, I get a long-ass text telling me he's moved on and met someone so much better than me. Hope she enjoyed your 9-incher.
He had terrible hygiene. I was 16, he was old enough to buy beer for my friends. He had a friend who had some sort of made-up gang, who threatened to kill me if I ever left him. I stayed with him longer than I should have. He would follow me to school on the city bus and then walk around leering at women and pinching his nipples. I tried to break up with him and he bought me Looney Tunes jewelry and insisted we were engaged. He finally had to go out of town for some family stuff and stayed gone for months, so I considered us broken up and I moved on. When he came back, he acted crazy. He would go to my job and follow me around and try to corner me in the bathroom. His dad was the chief of police at a university and knew I was 16. My parents also knew about the relationship. I feel like some parent should have intervened to keep me from feeling trapped in that relationship.